Kuromi's life once upon a time in a small, forgotten corner of the world. A child was born under the sign of a crescent moon. Her name was Akemi, but from the moment she opened her eyes, she was destined to be known as Kuromi, a name that meant the dark beauty, for she was a child of mystery, with eyes like midnight and hair like ink. As a baby, Kuromi was quiet, observant, rarely quiet. Her parents were poor, living in a modest village where superstitions ran deep. They noticed early on that their daughter never smiled like the other children, and her laughter, when it came, was soft and unsettling. Her presence seemed to bring an air of stillness wherever she went, as though time itself slowed when Kuromi was near. In her early years, Kuromi was an outcast. Other children didn't know how to play with her, and she, in turn, didn't care to play with them. She preferred the shadows, hiding beneath trees, gazing up at the stars, or wandering into the forgotten parts of the village where no one ventured. The adults whispered about her. Some thought she was cursed. Others believed she was touched by spirits. Kuromi, however, never paid them any mind. She was content in her solitude, finding comfort in her own company. As she grew, her dark beauty blossomed, but so too did her sense of isolation. She became a teenager who spoke little and observed much. The few friends she had, like her, were misfits, drawn to her quiet mystery. One friend, Yuto, dared to ask her once what she wanted most in life. She answered, her voice like a soft breeze, to be free. But freedom for Kuromi came at a cost. As she grew older, the village began to shun her more openly. Whispers about her powers of strange happenings when she was near spread like wildfire. It wasn't long before she was blamed for the misfortunes that befell the village in a sudden drought, a harvest that failed, a sickness that swept through the houses. And so, Kuromi was cast out. With nothing but a small bag of belongings, Kuromi left the village behind. She walked alone into the wilderness, seeking solace in the uncharted lands where no one would know her name. There in the heart of the dark forests, she lived her life one with the land. She learned to survive hunting, foraging, and reading the language of the earth. She became a woman of the wild, part shadow, part nature. Her beauty now matched only by her enigmatic presence. Years passed. Kuromi aged, but not in the way most did. Time seemed to bend around her, and her life remained unmarked by the passage of years. She grew more attuned to the mystical forces of the world, learning rituals and secrets that no one else knew. But with each year, she felt more of the world slip away, until all that remained was her connection to the forest. When she was in her late 50s, Kuromi's thoughts turned inward. She had lived her life, tasted both the joy of freedom and the bitterness of solitude. She had learned that the pursuit of freedom had come at the price of connection to love. She never allowed herself to experience the bonds she never forged. In the solitude of her home in the woods, she began to long for something different, something deeper. One night, as the moon hung low in the sky, Kuromi sat by a fire, staring into the flames. She felt the pull of her past the village, the people she had left behind. She wondered if it was time to return, to finally reconcile with the world she had abandoned. But deep in her heart, she knew that her time in the world of the living was nearing its end. The forest had become her sanctuary, but it was also where she had made peace with the inevitability of death. On the night of her death, Kuromi did not fear what was to come. She sat beneath the ancient tree that had always been her companion, the one whose roots seemed to stretch deep into the earth, connecting the world above with the one below. With her final breath, she whispered into the wind, a single word: freedom. As the dawn broke, the forest stood silent, as if honoring her passing. And there, beneath the great tree, her spirit merged with the earth, becoming one with the shadows she had always known. The village, years later, would speak of her with reverence, a dark legend, the woman who had never truly belonged but had always been free. And so, Kuromi's life ended, not with a grand flourish, but in quiet acceptance. She had lived as she had wished, alone, untethered and free.